At the time, my mom had passed away. I'm sorry to make you cry. I've had my fair share. There was a school that I used to work for. I would start at 9 and finish work at 9. Grade 1 and 2 students have textbooks this thick. Yeah, one of the ones you have to carry with both your hands. Yeah. Their textbooks say things about Africans that are you have to be a good woman for a man that's going to marry you. It was never a conversation in our household. I know, people look at me and think that. I don't know why. Before I went to the States, I had about 4 jobs. Yeah. I don't know if I have any real talent.
Welcome to the Millennials Corner, where most of us are lost in a trance.
Getting episode 8 morning. Well, to start this episode, I actually wanted to share this tweet that I came across. It's from English teaching jobs in China. So they say looking for people looking for people with bachelor's degrees for English teaching jobs in China, lucrative salary, low cost of living, and high savings. But understanding that not everything that glitters is gold, we went on to invite Palesa, a computer science graduate from UTC, who is currently teaching English in Taiwan. And Palesa Bafetu is going to tell us everything, and I mean yonke into from A to Z that you need to know about teaching jobs abroad, right? But before we actually dive into that, I have a huge favor that I'm going to ask, and that is, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please do us a solid and hit that subscribe button, because it definitely does help keep the magic at TMC alive. I really can never stress this enough, right? Because the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guest and the better the insights. So yeah, please do the right thing. Oh, actually, before I forget, TMC is currently running a competition where you can stand a chance to win one of these 3 TMC branded items. So they have a tote bag, a notebook, as well as a power bank. So if you actually feel like, you could use one of these items, please don't hesitate. Go check the description below for a link on how you can enter for the competition. But without any further ado, good luck with the competition, and let's dive right into the episode. I hope you enjoy.
It seems like we have already started, man. Let's do the thing. So this is like culture at TMC.
What's the culture?
The culture is we start with an icebreaker.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different for everyone.
Okay.
This time around, MCZ prepared a game called Say What's on Your Mind.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you a phrase with a blank, and then you'll just fill it in.
Okay.
Can we get started?
Let's go.
I can't believe I actually when I was younger.
I can't believe I played a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, I guess that was necessary, right?
Yes. I actually did. Oh my God. I used to get into trouble with my grandparents because I would have breakfast, sometimes not have breakfast, and then I would leave the house the whole day. And they would have to hunt me down to come back, take a bath. And yeah, even in high school, I played a lot.
Do you find yourself playing even till this day?
I mean, it's easy for me because I still teach elementary school and kindergarten kids. So we still play a lot, right?
So much
The next one, when I am alone, I like to
sing and dance and talk to myself. I have a lot of conversations because I'm a person that has a lot to say. Sure. Sometimes my friends are not available. So I'm like, girl, let's have this conversation.
That's why it made sense for you to have a podcast, right?
Yes, because I like to talk to people. Yes.
I made a complete fool of myself when?
I was trying to impress a guy. And I said some dumb stuff. I shouldn't have.
It always has to be in the when you embarrass yourself.
Oh, it's in the name of love, infatuation, whatever it was.
I'm always chosen first when it comes to
doing projects. Tom and I were working on a Lego project. We'll probably talk about that later. I was his first option.
Sure.
When we have to do some acting, I think my director thinks of me first when they need a female actress, an actress.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's because I show up. So whenever somebody has a project that is relevant to what I'm doing, I think they think of me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look back at my life and
Feel a huge sense of gratitude. I've been blessed so much. It's so hard to complain sometimes.
ooh, bruh.
Yeah.
The world would be better if.
There were no drugs. Honestly, yeah. And that one hits home because I think I've known a few people that have lost loved ones due to substance abuse.
Yeah.
And having taught high school, I think I've lost a good kids, like a number of good kids to substance abuse. But if you're gonna drop out of school and do nothing, that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And Nyani, to be honest with you, if you drop out of school to build a certain product or start a business, I'm all for that because not everybody's going to do the 12 years of school.
Sure.
Just make sure you have a plan.
So yeah, that's the icebreaker. Diane, I hope the ice is finally broken officially.
I wish those were all the questions you could ask me for this interview. That was easy. I like it.
Yeah, it seems like you're very passionate about these kind of conversations where they empathize with, and delve deep into why people, especially young people, do things that they do, right?
Yeah, I am.
So yeah, to kick things off, I think we have a lot of people watching here wondering who Palesa is, and our TMC went out of their way to get you here, or you went out of your way to actually be here.
I wanted to have this chat with you.
So yeah, let's talk about all these cool titles that you have on your bio. Who is Palesa?
Okay. It's so interesting to see everything come together right now because you know what? I look at my life and I'm like, girl, you're a liker of things. But I think that the one title that I resonate with is that I'm a teacher. And then from then I became a podcaster. My podcast is called Conversations with Miss T. It's on YouTube. And
Check it out.
Check it out. He was one of my guests. That's why I'm back, because we had unfinished discussions to have. And then I got into acting. I actually started acting in university. It was so exhilarating. And I know I have a very innocent face, but then university, they used to give me these characters that are just like Joker sort of characters, because I can yes, the villains, yes, because I can do this evil laugh.
You want to do it? You know I was going to ask, right?
We'll get into that later. I don't know if I can pull it off right now. Okay. So I got into that, and then a couple of years, no, actually, like about 3 years ago in Taiwan, I was like, hey, I still want to do this. So I started acting again. I sing and dance, which is something that I never thought I'd be able to do because I used to be one of those kids that dances like like S2E8, I'm dancing like a white guy. That was me. Yes. But then I got into dancing. I became a dancer. I did K-pop. I did Zumba. It got to a point where I did actually teach a dance class. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm still shocked.
You must be really good.
I work hard with everything that I do. I don't know if I have any real talent. I'm just that girl that if you want me to do something and I think it's worth doing, I'll figure it out.
Nice.
Oh, I'm an author. I think that's fancy.
That is super fancy. I wonder why you didn't mention it. It should have been teacher, author, and the rest.
You see, that's one thing that I've always known that I was going to do. Sure. I was saving that for retirement, actually, to be honest with you.
Retirement came early.
Yes, because when COVID hit, I just realized how short life is. And then it's not that I was fearful. I was just being realistic that, you know what, you might not make it. So just get them off your chest. Yeah. And then I have a story about the big fat man, actually, that what had happened was, as an African teacher in an Asian classroom, I stand out, and my kids had questions. And I didn't mind the questions at all. They were better than, stereotyping. I actually preferred that my kids ask me questions about my skin color, my origin, my culture, and all of that stuff. What I did not appreciate was that in their elementary school, to be exact, because that's where I got this from, their textbooks say things about Africans that are somewhat just not true. So it wasn't even questions, it was statements. My grade 1 or grade 2 students, they would come up to me and say, yeah, in Africa you eat rocks. I was like, what? They say, yeah, you eat rocks.
And they genuinely believe that?
Yes, because it's in the textbook at school. And then I would ask them, where are you getting that from? Yeah, that's what they teach us at school. In Africa, you don't have food. And then I'm like, guys, I'm well fed. This is written in textbooks in school when they teach about Africa. In Africa, you don't have enough food. I was like, where are you getting that from? From the textbooks. Okay, now guys, look at me. I'm not very skinny. I'm a thick girl. So clearly, I have enough food to eat. Yeah. And you know what they said to me? There is absolutely no way you started eating when you got here. We debated about that a little bit, and then this is what happened. I was showing my students, I wanted to show them something on YouTube, and then those ads where they're asking for donations, and then they show, starving kids. It's very heartbreaking. So an ad came on. Halfway through the ad, they were like, oh yeah, that's definitely Africa. It wasn't Africa, it was the Middle East. I said, why would you say that? Yeah, because remember, teacher, we told you kids in Africa are starving. So then I wrote The Big Fat Man.
Okay.
Also because in the children's books that we read, it's predominantly white characters.
Was it easy for you to actually publish a book that side? If you're telling a different story.
I self-published, and I think a lot of people were excited because also what we did was we had a Ndebele themed village. The Ndebele village, the Ndebele patterns are very attractive. So The Big Fat Man is a Ndebele themed children's book, right? So I think the colors were fascinating, and we had an animal there, which is a huge trick when you're trying to get kids hooked into your book, because kids love pets, right? So we had a cat in there. Yes, so it was easy in that sense. People were really, really into it. Yeah. And then after that, we had the Big Fat Woman. Did I call it the Big Fat Lady? Yeah. I had a few South Africans that really loved that, and with that, we went with the vendor culture. Sure. And that lady had a dog. I had to do a female one, honestly. And then I had Gift the photographer, and then I was like, can I have the big fat baby? And I was like, no, baby, you're pushing it. Just stop. Also, around the time, I was starting to get into trouble with the Americans who are very sensitive when it comes to obesity and stuff like that. So they were not really responding pretty well to my book. Sure. So I was like, okay, you know what? This might be too offensive. Let me write something else. Yeah. But my students really loved the book.
I also like that, there's some elements of culture into how you've packaged them. Which will bring me to my next question about how did you grow up? Like, where did you grow up? And yeah.
So I grew up in Mpumalanga, in Perutagob. Sure. I know nobody knows where that is.
So Mpumalanga actually have a lot of Ndebele speaking people, right?
Ndebele and Swati and Zulu. So a lot of people know where Standerton is. So as you're going down from Standerton to Volkras, Newcastle, you pass a village. If you're going in that direction, it will be on your, left. Yeah. That's where Perutagob is. That's where we grew up. So
you grew up in a village?
Yes.
That makes me wonder where you get your accent. But I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. I also wonder about the accent. I'm like, where did I pick it up? I know I picked it up from. I had a lot of foreign friends. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I grew up in the village with my grandparents and my cousins. And I had the most amazing childhood because in the villages you play with anything and everything and it's safe. And it was safe at that time, And I watched my grandma make something out of nothing. I think there was a time when we had iputu and butter and salt, and it was very delicious.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that sounds like a dope combination.
And it's because my grandma made it, and she made it with so much love. And then I don't know. it was just so amazing, to grow up in that environment, seeing my grandma make something out of nothing. And also, in the villages, I think this is where you get to practice Ubuntu. I don't think in the city we do it pretty well. In the villages, we practice Ubuntu to the core.
In the city, it's all Guluva for himself.
Yes, when you have a funeral, they show up. And they hardly show up empty-handed. They bring something. If it's Tosaka Sebenzi, we will bake a next door. If visitors cannot fit in your household, next door they will accommodate, something like that. And I loved that. And I think that's partly the reason why I became who I am.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Christmas was a big deal. I miss those days. Oh my God.
How did your Christmas look like?
Plenty of food, plenty of relatives, happy relatives, conversations around the coal stove, grandma and aunties teaching us how to make certain foods and just playing with your cousins that you hadn't seen the entire year, And then also there's this, this house hopping thing that you do on Christmas Day. You go Kabasbanma and they give you cookies and oh God, I miss that. By the time Christmas week is over, your belly is so huge.
Nostalgia,
Yes. So that's the beauty of growing up in the village.
You say you're also a head girl.
Yes, I was a herder. We didn't really have males. My brother was still young at the time, so he couldn't do it. So my cousins and I did it. So in the morning, we would go to school. There wasn't enough time to take the cows to go and graze. So my grandfather would do that, and then after school, we would have to go and collect the cows. So that was a very interesting experience. At first, I was terrified, but I think my cousin, Orating, was such a bold, brave girl. Yeah. It made it easy to be next to her. Sure. Yeah, so I learned a lot. And then when I was old enough, they taught us how to milk a cow.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. To be honest with you, cow milk, straight from the breast, tastes wonderful. And it's warm.
Yeah.
Does it taste wonderful? I don't like it very much.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it. I prefer fresh milk. No, I think it doesn't taste as wonderful.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought, wow, I thought it was great at that time. Okay. But then also at that time, remember, in the villages, we didn't have fresh milk. Everything that we got, my grandma made something out of it. So it's either we got the milk from the cow, froze it, or let it turn into sour milk.
Sure.
Yeah, so the fresh...
Amasia.
Yeah, amasia. So the fresh that you're talking about is not the fresh that I'm talking about.
I see. Well, I mean, the fresh is not fresh after all. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's been through so many processes to call it fresh,
Yes.
It should actually be called smooth and not fresh, smooth milk.
I wonder why. Yeah. They know what they're doing, these marketers.
So now being raised by your grandparents, did you grow older staying with them, or did you move at some point?
I moved and we went to stay with my dad. At the time, my mom had passed away. So then my dad started raising us as a single dad. And that on its own was an adventure because I had to be responsible from a very young age. And I don't know how my dad did it, that he trusted that we will figure it out somehow.
Yeah. How does responsible look like?
Learning how to cook at an early age, learning how to do chores at an early age, learning how to look out for yourself at an early age.
So how old are you when you moved to stay with your dad?
I must have been 11 or 12, around about that time. Yeah. And then it just toughens you up. And to be honest, I wasn't a girly girl. And that's fine because as much as I like looking pretty right now...
And you really do.
Oh, thank you. I think at that time, looks were not a priority. My dad was like, make something out of yourself in your life. And he spoke life into my life, which helped a lot. So fathers are very practical. So I had that practical upbringing, things, and I'm not saying they're bad, please don't get me wrong. Things that mothers, and not all mothers do this, again, please don't get me wrong. Things that mothers will generally prioritize, like you have to be a good woman for a man that's going to marry you was never a conversation in our household. The conversation was, you be your person, you do your thing, you stand up for yourself. Yeah. So that helped. Whereas, and I'm comparing this to my friends who had mothers who were like, you have to be a good girl for a man. And for me, it was like, you have to be a good girl for yourself and your family. My family not being the family that I will create, but the family that brought me up. So that was interesting. And then there was never any screaming in our house. To this day, a person who raises their voice repulses me. I don't know how to relate to that. It was not screaming, it was just like really practical conversation. If you do this, it will lead to this, be careful, that's it.
I find it very interesting that you were raised by your dad. You know, I think society today kind of like pushes this phenomenon that men are trash. And you probably have a different idea around that, you know.
Women are trash too, to be honest. Yeah. Not all of them, and not all men are trash.
Sure. Yeah. Can you talk me through that actually?
Like I said, I'm a woman, and I've spoken to women who are just like, girl, no, you know. And there's men who are just like, no. But I don't think it's a one size fits all label. And this is not just my dad. I think my uncles and my grandfathers, they really, they showed up for their family. And they made so many mistakes in their lives that I feel like it gave me permission not to be perfect. But I think that they did their best to hold families together. Cool. And I've had to forgive all of them for their shortcomings. And you see them, right? You see Guti, okay, Umalume is messing up now here, but Umalume deep down inside is a good person. Sure. Now my brother is messing up right here, and if it's a sibling, you see it every day, right? You just sort of like, it's like my brother is messing up right here, but then you take a look at them and you're like, to the core, this person is fantastic. So I think that's how I've come to look at guys. And it's really shocking, especially when you're going through things like, so my breakups are really different in the sense that I would still speak life to the person that I'm breaking up with, right? I'm like, you messed up, bro. This is not going to work. But listen, I really think that you can make something out of your life, you know, which is really confusing because, like, are you breaking up with me or not type of thing?
Why are you giving me hope?
Right. And it's the same with people that I cannot be romantically involved with. I'll be like, oh my God, really? Like, I am so glad that you like me. And I think you're an incredible person. Look at this and this and this and this that you've done. But I'm sorry that we cannot, you know.
That actually gives me an idea that you choose to see the best out of people.
Oh, yeah. That gets me into trouble sometimes. But yeah. But I've learned to have a stop nonsense. And thanks to the book that I read about boundaries.
You know, the time when you actually get exposed to different people and now you have to be your own person is when you moved from home, you know, to varsity, you know, and that's where you meet quite a lot of people and you have to now be the parent to other people. So how was
it? Was actually the other way around because my friends, for example, my friends who were from Zimbabwe, who are Zimbabweans, they had an extra year, actually almost all of them, they had an extra year of high school. I think they call it Form A and Form B. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. So they were a year or 2 years older than me. Some of them had taken gap years, and then they had to really put me in line. Because remember I told you I was playful. I got away with it in high school because I was smart. In university, I don't think I would have gotten away with it, the playing thing. So my friends would be like, hey, Sissy, you need to study. And if you ask me how I made it, that's how I made it. I became friends with people who were serious about their lives. Now I had a huge circle of friends, but then I think I gravitated the most towards the people who were making something out of their lives.
What did you study at university and then how was your experience?
had so much fun. You know what? I had the best time in university. Also because Cape Town is just absolutely beautiful. It is stunning.
You look back and say, best time of my life till this day?
Not till, I mean, right now I create some memories. But it has to be one of the highlights of my life. And forget the time when I failed my math test and cried in the bathroom for hours. Forget that. I had a wonderful time. Like I said, thank God I chose my friends wisely. So I majored in microbiology and computer science. I met my friends through the courses that I was doing at the time. And then what else? And then I got involved, like I said, into acting, into outreach programs, and all these other things that I did in university because there were opportunities to do that. Yeah, and then I learned how to stand up for myself. I actually had 2 part-time jobs.
While you were studying?
While I was studying,
okay.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I was a waitress in a what is that thing called? Give me a second. I worked at a call center.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a call center
agent.
Yes. I worked at a call center because at home we didn't really have a lot of money, so I had to make ends meet. And
I don't know. Maybe this is very stereotypical. But you speak like you were swimming in money growing up.
I know, people look at me and think that. I don't know why. And they find me so unrelatable. And I'm just like, guys, you don't know.
Sure.
And it is so sad. Because to be honest with you, it's the people around me that got me to where I am. I really had to work hard. There was a point when from those jobs, I would have to send money home to take care of my brother, say, because my dad could take care of himself, but my brother needed some things, I had to send money home. And I'm not complaining about that or anything. I'm just saying that I really do work hard. In Taiwan, my friends will tell you, before I went to the States, do I work for that company? No, I don't work for that company anymore. I can say this. Before I went to the States, I had about 4 jobs.
Yeah.
I had my main job, and I was tutoring during the week about 2 kids. And then on weekends, I was working too. So that's the kind of person that I am. I work a lot. And then at some point, I was teaching online. So I was working. So that's been me. Sure. Yes. Sure. I know with Instagram, it seems like I'm moneyed, but guys, it's really just filtered content, honestly. I'm putting it out there because I'm trying to do something with my life. But yeah, let me talk about this. Case in point, my car is not working. My car is wrecked right now. Because of my license being expired and everything, I cannot rent a car. And also, I would rather not rent a car because it's cheaper to travel with public transportation. So I came here in Amadex. I had to take 3 taxis to come here.
How was that experience?
Oh, it's very, very different. First of all, public transportation in SA Amadex is very entertaining. Taxi drivers bound to say something.
And somebody's bound to fuck up the taxi max.
Right. So when we were in Jimiston, this is what happened. Okay, so I'm looking for a taxi. They told me to go to Randburg, right, to come here. So we get into a taxi that's going to Randburg. Was I going to Randburg? Let me think. No, okay, they said you cannot go straight to Randburg, so you have to go through Alex.
You went to Alex?
Via Alex. Yeah, I know, it was interesting. Yeah. They don't have dogs anymore out in the street, they have goats. What is up with, I have a video, guys, of goats in Alex. I'm like, what is going on? Entertainment. You see, if I had driven, I would have taken the freeway and not seen the goats on the street. Anyway, so I go via Alex. We get to Jimiston in the taxi rank. They say, okay, come inside. We go inside. The taxi is full. We close the door and they say, by the way, the driver's missing. Yeah. So can you guys get out of this taxi and get into the taxi at the back? Sure. No problem. But now the thing is the seats are going to be messed up now, right? And the people who don't have good seats, they go out first, right? Sure. So they go out and I'm like, okay, fine. So we go settle. And then everybody takes the money. And then another driver comes and is like, by the way, the driver of that taxi is back, so how about you guys move back? And the passengers were complaining. It was so hilarious. It was so funny. Yeah. Last Sunday when I was coming back from church, my brother dropped me off, but I was like, no, let me take public transport, it's okay. So we get in the taxi going to Jimiston, and then one of the passengers says, after robot. And then the taxi driver says, you know what, I'm not going to stop after the robots, after I turn. Let me tell you something. I'm going to drive up a little bit and stop at that bus stop. So it's either you get off now or you get off further ahead.
The thing about public transport in South Africa, you have to be super early.
Yes.
Yeah, and you need to be really patient.
Yeah, those stories, that makes me feel at home.
And it's really interesting that you find this entertaining.
What choice do I have?
Yeah, because even the guest that we had last time on the show, Amohelang, was like, there's so much beauty that's happening in South Africa. And in order to experience it, you need to step out a little bit. And then you will then see from a bird's eye view that actually these things that are happening that I used to resent are actually entertaining.
They are.
And you actually miss them sometimes. But honestly, I don't think I miss public transport.
Another thing with public transport, and I'm so sorry if any taxi drivers are watching, is you don't have certainty that you make it. Guys, to be honest. So if you're conscious of that, you just say a small prayer. Sure. And you say goodbye to your family. Okay, bye-bye. I hope to see you when I come back. I hope I will come back.
Deep down, you know that might not.
You might not. Because the taxi that we took to Randburg, guys, it was really like Mkuku on wheels. Oh, wow. To be honest. Yeah. But I'm happy that I'm here.
That's those if you drop the coin.
You won't find it. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. It's a nice. But the goats, guys. What's happening in Alex with the goats?
I don't know.
I'll show you a video. Yeah. And they were eating like plastic and cut box.
Yeah, that's all they can find in Africa. There's no food.
But I'm like, what happened to the dogs, guys? We used to have stray dogs, and everybody understood, okay, we have stray dogs that would be in this. But now the goats, like a whole goat.
Ah, man, I haven't been
Whose goats are those?
In a long time. I don't know. Do people even still eat goats? Because if they are exposed like that, they should be endangered.
Yeah, remember we ate a hippo. Do you remember the story?
No, there's a story about a hippo that I was eating. Wait.
Somebody sent me, it was on the news. So in one of the zoos or, these nature reserves or whatever, now a hippo escaped some way. And then it was seen in some township. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting the details. So somebody takes a photo of the hippo, walking down the road. The next photo, it's being slaughtered. Nje. Hippo down. So, if we can eat hippos in SA, guys. I am so sorry. I don't know how we got here, but...
South Africa is entertaining so much. And then now you decide to move to Taiwan to become a teacher.
Yes.
What inspires that decision?
I was friends with teachers where this conversation became a thing. Yeah. Guys, we have opportunities to teach abroad. South Korea, China. Mm-hmm. So we talked about it a lot, And then some of the people I was talking to about this started to make moves. They started actually moving to these countries, So we talked about the application process and all of us applied. The ones that really wanted to go, we all applied and stuff like that. Yeah. And then it was just the next thing. Like my friend was like, oh yeah, no, I got a job here, come apply. I applied. She helped me out with the application process. They called me in. And then I told my dad, I said, well, I guess I'm moving. My dad was like, good. Not that he doesn't love me, but like I said, my dad spoke life into my life. So one of those things that he said was, you're going to travel. Yeah. So it was about time. So then I moved. So to be honest with you, that's exactly how it happened.
Wasn't it hard for you to make that decision that, okay, Shap, I'm going to move, the people you're leaving behind?
No, I think my grandparents were worried. My aunties were worried. But my dad and I were like, yeah, this is happening. Because I had moved to Cape Town before. Okay. So, And I knew somebody in Taiwan at the time, Uvuyo, thanks girl, who hooked me up, who picked me up from the airport and all that stuff. Yeah. And then it was just like, hey, the rest is up to God, Hopefully you get there safe. But the most important thing was to know that the company that had accepted my application is legit, which was easy for me to verify because I already had somebody that was working for that company.
Cool.
Yeah, but anybody else is thinking of working abroad, I think that's the most important thing to do. Check if the company that accepted you or the agency that they are legit.
Okay, cool.
And if you need to talk to anybody, there's plenty of Facebook groups right now that you can go into and ask those sort of questions.
Somewhere on your bio, there's a point where you speak about being placed at a school that was under-resourced.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw that, I thought maybe that could have been what inspired your moving. And this pushes me to the next question where I wanted to ask that. How is the education system this side in SA versus in Taiwan?
Okay, so I was placed for slow. And I say the school was under-resourced because I went to a former Model C school. I know what it's like to have your own desk and chair and never walk into a classroom and have to wonder if your desk and chair are still there.
Public school.
So it was under-resourced in the sense that we had more students than we had furniture to accommodate those students. That's
So
how.
if you're late to hlala phansi,
If you're late, you have to, no, awuhlali phansi siyancengisana, or you have to go out and look for a chair in one of those classrooms where mhlambe there's no class at that time. Yes.
sounds like the same system the taxi siyahlalisana.
Kahle kahle, kahle kahle. Kahle kahle. Yeah, so you had those cases, and it was sad, to be honest. But after a while, you get used to that environment and you make do with what you have, you know. But then obviously some students took that to their advantage. It's like they come late, Eish, no chair, ma'am. I'll be right back. And they don't come back. So, and I had something to compare it to, so that's how I knew like it was under-resourced. Some kids did not have enough books, not enough textbooks, not enough stationery. Some kids did not have proper uniform. You know, it's sad. But I know Uguti as a nation, we've come a long way, and the government is doing the best that they could. But I mean, it was really hard. I think maybe that's one of the reasons that I left. It was heartbreaking for me because in high school, man, I heard a lot of stories. I'll tell you two.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the stories that I heard was I had a girl from grade 10 that came up to me and she said she wanted to speak to me. I said, what do you want to speak to me about? Her mom was doing prostitution in the house. And that's how she was making money, and no judgments. The problem came when one of her regular clients saw the girl, who was obviously in grade 10, fully developed and beautiful, and said, I want her. And because that was a regular client, the mom had no choice but to pass him on to her. And what do you say about that? So I sat there with her and I cried with her. And at the time, she was dating somebody that she thought she could trust, who used all of that against her. And then he said, if you break up with me, I'm going to expose you.
It's really hard.
That tore me apart. I didn't know what to do with that as a young teacher. What was I going to do? And the second story was another girl.
Is this your plan to...
Hey, man.
There's
a lot going on.
Gosh, there's a girl, beautiful, beautiful girl. You could tell, Uguti, she was one of those people who were bubbly in their personality. But at that time that I spoke to her, she had mellowed down because I think that she was going through so much pain. She just didn't have the energy to be herself. She was gang raped, a forced arrest in a car, and she contracted HIV. Yeah.
How do you help these kind of kids? What do you say to
You love them. I'm sorry to make you cry. I've had my fair share. And man, I used to share these stories with my friends. And it was overwhelming, you know. It was overwhelming. And then, like I said, there's a story, Saga Innocent. Boy, I really hope you're grown now, wherever you are. Story Saga Innocent. Innocent was one of the kids. He was a cool kid, man, but he was very quiet. I couldn't understand why he was quiet. And the thing is, as a teacher, I really have an eye for those students, you know, the ones that don't stand out or the ones that are very naughty. I just gravitate toward them. So he had caught my attention in Innocent in grade 10. And then Snindini Innocent disappears. And I tell the story in one of my podcasts. So I'm like, oh guys, where's Innocent? At that time I didn't have a car. I was taking taxis and I didn't mind Nyani because I could bond with my students as we were walking to catch a taxi and whatnot. Nobody knows where Innocent is. Innocent Belahlale 28. Highball, 2 days pass by. Okay, so I say to one of my students, you guys who walk to 28, can you show me where Innocent stays? They said, okay, fine, ma'am. After school, we're gonna walk together. After school, we walk together. We go to Innocent's house, and then we walk into the house. Grandma's there, and there's nothing in the house. When I say nothing, I mean like no proper furniture. Okay. Gogo, where's Innocent? Innocent is not here. He went to look for a job. And by the time he was in grade 10 at the time. By the time I had stepped into the house, I understood. With whatever move he was making, boy, you have my support. Because Nyani, everything is dependent on him. Now, I never really got his full story. A few weeks later, I bumped into Innocent as Spa. We're going to Spy Golf Spot. I don't know if it's still there.
Gone. Oh, July.
Oh, and that too. I saw him there and I said, Nana, do you work here now? He said, yeah. I said, I understand. Don't even worry about having to rush to come back to school because he would come, if he did came back to school, he's going to take care of his family. But I cried for days, bro.
And it must be really hard, especially when you powerless, like you can't really help them out of that situation instantly.
Yeah. So by the time that I had an opportunity to move to Taiwan, I had a lot of those stories to carry in my heart. And I think that if I had stayed longer, it was going to break me because I'm very sensitive. It was going to break me or it was going to make me numb to what my students were going through.
And absolutely something that you can't afford to have as a teacher.
You cannot be numb to somebody's pain. As an individual, you just cannot be numb. Because numbness after numbness becomes heartlessness. And you see that with people who are going through breakups. Like if somebody goes through a very, very bad breakup, they become numb to pain, they become bitter, and the next person...
It just ripples into society, then we become this beaten.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes. Oh, that's really sad. Sorry, I didn't mean to get into that. But anyways, by the time all of that had happened and the opportunity to move Taiwan came, and I was like, my cup is empty. I really need to fill it up.
How is the system in Taiwan, like versus this side?
I was telling my dad yesterday that my grade 1 and 2 students have textbooks this thick, like if thicker than that, actually, like very.
The law textbook.
Yeah, one of the ones you have to carry with both your hands. Yeah, that's how much reading.
Grade 1 and 2.
Yes, that's how much reading we do. So there's a lot of emphasis in reading, and another example of how much they take education. So I'm not saying that we don't as a country, but you asked me to make comparisons. Those are schools that I used to work for. I would start at 9 and finish work at 9. So you have students that are at school from 9 to 9. They have different courses, they have extracurricular activity, they're doing homework, and then they would get picked up at 9 when the school closes.
This is foundation phase.
Kindergarten, what are you talking about? Oh. I'm telling you. We learn, bruh. And even for us, my sisters would call me, are you home? Are you sleeping? No, I'm just about to leave work. At 9, yes.
So what do you think that does to the kids?
It helps them stay away from trouble. There's a lot of trouble that you can get into between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. before your parents get home. there's a lot that could happen without supervision. I'm not blaming anybody. Parents have to hustle. I was in the same boat. If you don't use that time conducively, as a young person, you're missing out on a lot of skills.
Are you looking to perhaps in the future come back to SA and with your knowledge and your experience working in a different, education system to come back and, help our system implement some of the things that make, the foreign system a little bit better in comparison?
I think I might not have to come back. I might do it from a distance. Because if I wait to come back, that might be a while. But if I say I'm going to take a few steps towards that, even when I'm still in Taiwan, then I think that's doable. Because I also don't know everything. Cool. So if I say, okay, at this moment I know this, how about we implement this? And I go back and I learn more and then we implement it. Yeah. Luyanda siyakhuluma ke.
Oh, we're going in. I just wanted to question the commitment from teachers, right? You've worked with teachers this side and that side as well. Like, how does the different systems kind of like affect the commitment from teachers?
The teachers.
Or does the teachers affect the system? Is it the other way?
Just like politicians are from the South African education system. Yeah. So what are you going to expect? A product of the South African education system. Teachers in Taiwan are a product of their education system. So by the time they start working, they're used to hard work 9 to 9. It's not a taboo. In South Africa, education from 7 to 2. Yeah. Teachers are used to that from the time that they start school. Do you expect a teacher to stay late if that's what they've been doing for the rest of their lives? Exactly. No. So it's hard we're just product of our environment.
I want us to talk about the process of becoming a teacher because there's probably other people who are really excited about it.
I don't know if there's anybody who's excited about being a teacher.
Tell me why you think that later. But what was your process to finding this gig?
I just dropped something. Yeah. I'm sorry, my bad, y'all. I touched something. Okay, cool.
Please try not to touch anything.
Okay, my hands. I'll keep my hands to myself. Yeah, sorry, what was the question?
I was asking about the process. Like, what was your process to getting this job?
Which, in Taiwan or in South Africa?
In Taiwan. So while you were still in South Africa, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm asking this for someone who could be really fascinated by the idea of becoming a teacher in a different country. Because, like you said when you started, that there's a plethora of opportunities right out there. So what process would they possibly follow?
Okay. The one thing that I know that will probably work faster is going onto Facebook and searching teaching jobs in Taiwan. And you will see that the schools that post that are looking for teachers. So I think that would be the easiest way. So you could also see the requirements and the pay. Yeah. And then another option is to go onto Google and look for schools in Taiwan that need English teachers, or just search for job opportunities in Taiwan and then apply that way. Yeah.
What do you need?
You need a degree. I need a degree and a TEFL, TEFL certificate.
Okay, what's
yeah,
that?
It teaches you how to teach English. Yeah, how to teach English.
Where do you get that certification?
You can get it online. I did mine online. I think VIRTS also offers one. When I was doing my research, I saw that on VIRTS.
How much would it cost?
Depends. It's really, really hard to say. Depends on where you do it, to be honest with you. So I'm just, from the top of my head, going to say from 5,000 rands to 15,000 rands.
Okay, so what's the duration of the course?
It also depends if you're doing it in person or online. So they have one for, I think, 60 hours, 120 hours, 220 hours, 400 and something hours. So it varies. So you have to check the school that you're applying to. What are the requirements? How many hours of TEFL do they need you to do?
Okay. Yeah. How much hours did you do?
I did 120. I did 120. Most of it was online, and then I had 2 classes in center because that's another thing. They will need a certain number of hours to be done in person. Yeah, so the
So you have to
institution.
be actively teaching during
That time?
course.
Not really, but some experience, like tutoring or something, that goes a long way.
Okay.
Yeah, they need to know that you have an idea of what it requires to be a teacher, but not really. I think there's people who have left corporate and went straight into teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because you also did computer science and microbiology, so it makes me wonder why you would go into the teaching space.
It was a calling, bro. It called my name.
Yeah, you definitely have.
I say I'm a teacher by profession and passion and purpose. Honestly, I don't see myself doing anything else other than teaching. Yeah.
So you never done any work in the microbiology and computer science space?
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow. So you just got the degree for vibes, or you were preparing for this? It was preparing you for this, actually.
I mean, IT was popping at the time. IT and science were popping at the time. It was just the last year of university that, like I said, it was a calling. I had signed up to do tutoring at Kayalisha. Last time I said Kayaletu. I'm sorry. At Kayalisha and at Guguletu. And I remember I was tutoring these students and we had so much fun together. Sure. And they asked me, are you doing your B.Ed? I said, no, I'm doing microbiology and computer science. I said, that is such a pity because we think that you would make a great teacher.
Okay.
And then it clicked.
And then Jay.
And then I worked for Teach South Africa, which was recruiting at the time. It was recruiting graduate who were not majoring in B.Ed. And then everything else just fell into place.
Cool. So one other point that I wanted to touch on was the process of moving. What expenses are involved? What would you need to, make that move?
Oh God.
Is it a lot?
No. Yes. And like I said, people look at me and think I'm moneyed. I didn't pay for my ticket. We had to get an uncle, those uncles that are there.
The ones that are doing okay.
Yeah, one of those distant. I had to get one of my uncles and really present the whole thing. And I did it in advance because, sometimes I feel like we don't give our relatives enough time to put us in their budget. Sure. So we gave him 3 months to say, and I really had to prove Uguta had gone through this interview, they accepted me, this is the school, this is how much I'm gonna make if I make it, I'll probably pay you back, or my dad will pay you back, and stuff like that. Because we didn't have enough money for me to do all of that stuff. So then my uncle looked at it and said, well, you're doing something good with your life, give me 3 months, I'll buy you a ticket.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt we need uncles like yours. Everybody needs an uncle like you.
But we pitched, brah. Yeah. And I mean, I was a relatively good kid. I was playful, but I feel like I earned it because they had seen Uguti, I can do well.
Sure. And
otherwise,
for the right cause.
It was for the right course. And then you have to apply for a visa. You have to have a certain amount of money on your bank account.
Okay, roughly?
I needed 30 grand.
30,000 rand.
Yes. So I had to put it in the account, get a visa, and then take it back. I don't know if I should be saying this. I did not have enough money going to Taiwan, to be honest with you.
But you actually made it happen. You found a way.
I found a way. I have to tell you this. I got there. Uvuyo hosted me for 3 days, and then I went for training. And then I got a loan to get accommodation because I didn't have money. And on top of that, I made friends who gave me 1,000 there, 1,000 there to make it till payday.
Do you think also having people like that around you was something that you have been, you've created during your varsity times, the relationships?
I've always been a giver.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this the other day, and I think, because Nyani, when you're young, how much giving do you do? I think my dad planted a seed because my dad's a giver. Yeah. My dad's a giver because our family were like givers, because we grew up in a village where it's you help each other. Yeah. And I really, really think that it was his planting of giving that I was harvesting, to be honest with you. Honestly, now I can say, okay, it's through my investing that, when certain things happen for me, thank God, I'm harvesting what I planted. But at the time, man, I'm telling you, it must have been my family.
What you actually saying gets me thinking that if we had programs like we pay it forward for people who want to go overseas, like the same way you'd have a car finance, we have your teacher's finance if you're moving. We can actually, cover that, and then you would pay us like kind of a loan for.
The government will shut you down because they need teachers here.
Yeah.
And the teachers that would get accepted abroad are good teachers. So that would mean that South Africa is losing good teachers.
So even independently, that's not something that can be done.
I mean, we can do it independently, but I don't think that the government would support that.
And I think right now we at a space where we don't really need the government.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to hear that the rest of, like, all my life.
Sure.
Like, we don't
really need the government. There's too much protocol with the government, but the thing that I've actually picked up is that the efficiency at which they make things happen. You know what I mean? It will probably have to go through a lot of signatures, and because maybe there's no benefit to the corrupt system, it might not get approved. So if we can do it ourselves, we already have these groups, where there's teachers who are already that side. We can come together. Hey guys, let's start a stock fair. We can call it whatever we wanna call it. I feel like that would be more impactful. As much as sharing knowledge, but there's resource sharing.
But are you saying you are for people who want to move abroad? Is that what you're saying?
Specifically for people who want to move abroad and do teaching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see what
because
you mean.
like now you are telling me how much of a struggle it was for you to raise cash. Right? And for somebody in South Africa who would want to buy a car, it would relatively be easy because you get MFC, then you get your car finance, and you're in debt for the next 7 years. That's cool. But why can't we do these things for expenses that has a better impact?
I see what you mean. Also, maybe the way that I went about it was not the most conducive. Maybe other people, maybe there's people you'll talk to in the future that have easier routes of going about it. But I'm all for it. Like anything that supports the people, that'd be great. Yeah.
I mean, we could use groups like that. Tell me what you think in the comment section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each one help one.
Each one teach one.
Inja one, inja one. From Mzinwensi, so guys, I'm not making this up. It's not that I'm butchering English. I remember that line from Mzinwensi.
Inja one.
Injury to one is injury to all.
That brings me to the challenges you faced, that side.
Culture shock.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, culture shock. It is so real. The food, it was not easy adjusting to the food at first. The food is different. Also, just having to eat with chopsticks most of the times. Yes. But we're pros now.
I still struggle with fork and knife. Imagine with chopsticks.
Oh, God. But my friends always told me, no, you don't have to. But you're sitting at a table where everyone's using chopsticks and you're the only one using a fork, So you find a way to learn. What else have I struggled with? Just loneliness. It gets real, to be honest with you, being far away from home. And my friends and I will tell you instances where we just cried ourselves to sleep because it was so painful to miss your family, knowing that there's nothing that you can do about it. Yeah. For me, it was New Year's Eve, bruh. My first New Year's Eve in Taiwan, yes, I cried that whole night. It was my first New Year's Eve away from my family.
I can only imagine. All you know is the Christmas back home, so much food, too many people, excitement, and now you're stuck in a
yes,
place where
it was, I think that was my lowest moment in Taiwan. So now I try to engage with people as often as possible. And then I think for one of my friends, it was Christmas Day. She cried the whole of Christmas because she missed her family very much. Yeah.
Was it her first Christmas?
It was her first Christmas abroad too.
Must be hard.
So you hit those moments where you really miss the people that you love and the people that love you.
Christmas without custard and jade. Must be hard.
Christmas without 7 colors, bro.
Nah.
Yo.
But through all those challenges, would you say the move was worth it?
Yes.
Okay, was
Yes.
worth it in a sense that
Financial gain, experience.
so there's money.
Well, I mean, you make the most with what you have. Yes. And safety. I don't have to constantly look over my back. I can go through an alley at 3 a.m. and not worry about being attacked, being robbed, or, being harmed in any way. I changed taxis at Alex. I had to go up the steps and go through this area. It was like a 2-minute walk. My heart was pounding.
Yeah.
And it's daylight, it's broad daylight, right? You see a shadow, bro. You start praying.
You see someone walking towards you, you hide everything
Yo,
you got.
especially if it's a guy, and that's so sad. Somebody said something. They said, there was a time where a black woman would see a black man in the streets and feel safe. I think that was like during slavery times. But now a black woman sees the same black man in the streets and they fear for their lives. And this is not to say that only black men commit crime. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that for our people, we used to protect each other. Now we've become our own enemies.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, so for somebody who is thinking about moving to Taiwan to become a teacher, would you encourage them to do so?
Yeah, it's not just Taiwan, it's China, there's South Korea, there's Japan, there's Vietnam. Actually, those are the only ones that I know. In Southeast Asia. And then in the Middle East, there's Dubai, Qatar. Yeah, so there's many places that you could move to if you wanted to teach abroad. I think they also do it in some of the African countries, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Yeah.
So on average, do you mind sharing how much they make?
Yeah, I'm not going to share that.
No problem.
Confidential.
Okay, since the stuff you don't want to share, let's move to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah. Are, let's talk about mental health. And I want us to talk about this because every guest who's been on the show has highlighted how important it's been to them. So let's talk about mental health for you. How is that important? Have you ever experienced any moments where you felt like you needed to actually pay much more attention to that?
Yes, and I think I was one of those people because I have such a bubbly personality and I can make myself happy. And then I was like, me, struggle with mental health? Never. So I actually had 2 anxiety attacks. And this was when I was really doing well in my life. I was working for a good school, just living the best life. And something that was happening in my personal family life actually triggered it. And so this is how I can best explain it. You get a thought, I'm going to say it this way. You get a thought in your head, and it's like you have that thought, and then the world shuts down. The walls of your brain shut down on that thought, right? And then it spirals and spirals and grows and grows and grows. If it's a negative thought, gosh, you're going to suffer. So what happened to me, I was in my classroom, and I was really struggling with something at that time. I'm not going to say what. And then something triggered it, right? And my students were leaving the classroom, and there I was. I had the thought, the walls went shut, and then it grew like a tornado, right? And then my hands started shaking. I started crying, and then my heart was beating very, very fast. Now, you want to get out, but you can't because there's no escape. And it was so bad. So you start crying, and it feels like you cannot really control what's happening or how your body's responding to what's going on in your brain. So luckily for me at that time, I just dropped everything. I had a friend of mine downstairs in the school. I went into her classroom, and being in a different environment actually helped because she could talk to me. And as she's talking to me, it's not because what she's saying is helping. It's because she's poking a hole into the walls that I had created in my brain. And that allows you to snap back into reality. I think it took about 20 minutes for me to come down. And after your first anxiety attack, you have the fear of having another one. And sometimes I wonder if it's the fear of having another mental breakdown that actually causes you to have another mental breakdown. So, I was scared, I was shocked, I was like, is this me? Why am I so? And I think that's why at that time I also started working a lot, because I felt like, you know what, maybe I'm not gonna make it. Maybe any day I might just go. So I had another anxiety attack when I was at home in my bathroom in the evening.
Before we jump into another anxiety attack, I'm sorry to cut you now. Okay. Your first must have been very shocking because you were raised by a practical dad, so for the most part of your life, you've probably been in control.
Yes.
Did this moment make you feel like you don't have control
Yes.
over your life?
Yes, I didn't have control over that moment, which was also very strange because I'm Christian, right? So I know what it's like to have the presence of God with you, omnipresent God, right? And I believed that with all my heart, and I still do. But when you're shut into that mental hole, you forget. There's a lot of things that you forget. So I had a similar thought. I was in my bathroom and it hit me. And the same thing happened. But now I had remembered, my friend said, if you go through the same one, she was not too far from my house, let me know. And luckily my phone was with me. So through all that shaking, the only thing I could think about was let her know, let her know, let her know. So I'm typing, I'm having another anxiety attack. I'm crying and everything. I think she spoke to me, which is really, I'm really grateful for those external conversations when you're going through that. And also what you say to the person also matters. Because, when you're sad and then somebody says, don't be sad. It's like, yeah, great, I hadn't thought of that. That's not very helpful, right? So you really, really have to be careful what you say to a person that's going through that. So she was just asking me questions, which was annoying at that time, but it was also very helpful because what happened was she took me out of the mental state that I was in to try and focus into answering the questions. So as I was answering her, I found a little bit of stability. I could hold my phone and respond. And then after a while, I think I just got up and forgot about her, and I went into the kitchen. I was breathing, and then it faded. Sure. So after that one, actually, I think that one was also scary because even though I snapped out of it, it was so bad that I also thought that I might not make it. And I told my friend, I said, the next day, because I went, at night, I didn't have an anxiety attack, but I kept going through my moment in my head again, reliving, what I'd gone through. Yeah. The next day, I went to my friend, I said, I'm afraid that if I keep staying in this same situation, I might not make it. And then I said, I need to change environments. And then she said, did you have a sense, not a thought of suicide, but did you have a sense of that? And then I said, yes, which was very dark for me because I'm a very bubbly person. Yeah, I am full of life, right? Yeah. And then I said, yes. She said, what do you want to do? What is the one thing that you said you wanted to do? I said, I wanted to go to the States. She said, go. I said, okay. I took everything that I had saved up. And then I was like, you know what? I might not make it, so why not? Yeah. And I changed environments, and then my brain was reprogrammed. And because my brain was reprogrammed by being in a different environment, I had self-awareness now. I was like, oh girl, there's certain things that trigger you. Study yourself. find out what's going on and find out how you can go about surviving that.
So what are the risks of, because you seem to have faced it head on, right? You needed to make a move, change of environment. But you'd find other people, they would deal with it differently. Instead of like facing it head on, they'll shove everything under the carpet. What would be the related dangers to that?
It'll come back. It'll definitely come back at an unexpected time.
Sure.
There'll be triggers. The more you put underneath, the more you bury, the more triggers you're creating for yourself. Yeah.
So probably when it comes, it's...
But I understand why people do that, because you have a life to live and a family to support, right? You don't have time to be dealing with no mental health, bruh, right? You got to provide, put bacon on the table. So I understand why people would do that.
I actually called Msizi the other day. I told Msizi, I haven't been feeling well for a while, right? Especially after my accident. I've been finding it very hard to focus. My productivity levels have gone very down. Found myself not excited by the things that I actually enjoy, And I called Msizi, I haven't spoken to anyone about this, but this is what I'm feeling. I feel out of energy. I feel like I don't have anything to... we can take this plug of it.
Is that low shedding?
Yeah, we can take that plug and put it together. I was saying that after that moment, I felt lighter, but I still feel the need to address, the things that I'm feeling inside, because I'm weighed down. I'm weighed down really, but like you said, I have a family to feed. I have work to do, and having been raised by really practical parents, there's no one coming to save me, so I have to show up every day. And yeah, it's pretty hard to accept that you have mental issues when you're living under.
So you feel like there's something wrong with you, right?
Yeah. I know there's something wrong with me. I'm not operating at my optimal, and I could do better. Yeah. And if there's anyone feeling like me out there, sisonke, bruh. Yeah, sisonke. And even till this day, I still struggle with identifying exactly what is it that I need to do to, save myself out of this situation.
I will say that I listen to a lot of podcasts and seminars and stuff like that. Sometimes you hear something that you're like, oh, this is what I'm going through. They would mention something. Or just ask yourself questions. Why do I feel this way? What can I do? If somebody else was going through the same thing, how would I help them? And stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I used to take it lightly. I used to be one of those people that would say, I don't feel that way. But until you go through it, it hits different.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but be kind to yourself.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try. Thanks for sharing that, man.
And try to do at least the little things that you like to do,
Like playing soccer.
Yes, play
I still do
soccer.
that quite a lot.
Yeah, it's things that still give you life.
Spending time with family, Yeah, that makes me feel alive, actually.
Yeah. How about journaling? Do guys journal?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I use my iPhone notes quite a lot.
And gratitude, do you do that?
I don't think I do it enough these days. Yeah.
And that's understandable. There are days when you don't feel like it.
Sure.
It's like, I know there's things to be grateful for, but I don't feel like being grateful for them today.
Yeah. There was a stage where I used to do like mirror codes. I felt like that was an era where
I like that you did that, actually.
I was grateful, for the little things that I have. Yeah, and it had an impact on other people, and you too, because you say you like it.
I liked it a lot. No, when you started, because you were off social media for a bit, and then when you came back and I saw you doing some things, it was like, he's back. I liked that, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us something about mental health, or should we move?
I'm not an expert, but I will say this. Really try to find out what you love and try to do that thing that you love if you can. And obviously exercising helps.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like a muscular gym fanatic person. Simple things like walking helps, jogging a little bit helps with mental health. Yeah. And then stay away from negative people. Find a way to tune them out if you can. I think because you feel like you're being pulled down, and then you get these negative people who are just pulling you down some more. You don't need that. Yeah.
So the point that I wanted to cover about your acting.
My acting.
Palesa, you do a lot of things. It's so stressful. Sometimes I wonder how you are able to juggle it all. Your acting, when did it start, and what productions have you been involved in?
Okay, so I did a little bit when I was here, just a little bit, and this was all university stuff, right? And then now that I'm in Taiwan, I'm in Blim Theater, so I would do script writing for Blim Theater. I was also in something we call Taipei Shorts, so that's an annual acting performance thing that happens every year. I'm not part of it this year because I have a lot of things going on, but I did last year. And before then, the most challenging thing ever was the 24-hour play festival, where you have to learn a script in less than 24 hours.
The script is in English.
The script is in English, thank goodness. And then you go on stage and you act, and it's fun, but it's really, really challenging, right? And this is how I realized that I was right-brained, because I had to doodle a lot. Like, so if I have a long monologue, I had to like draw little diagrams and symbols to memorize. I couldn't memorize all the lines. Anyways, so we did that, which is very interesting. And then a film that I did, the Haka film, that was a huge stretch for me. So I had to sing in Haka. And they explained the lines to me. I understood them, but if you ask me what they mean today, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. And thank you so much, for the producers and the director that got me on board for that. And we're currently working on our own film that we're going to shoot actually next week. So I'm venturing into that, being a filmmaker.
Wow. Well, when are you leaving if you're shooting next week?
I'm shooting next week. I'm leaving in 3 weeks. I'm so glad we met.
Shooting in SA?
I'm shooting in SA, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I came back and things needed to be done, so I'm doing them. Okay. I was gonna shoot in Taiwan, actually. But then I was like, no, the story is actually more relevant here. Yeah. And hopefully we'll talk about it some more. Yeah. So I think the film making is going to be one of the most challenging things that I'll ever do in my life. But I'm excited.
How prepared are you for it?
I'm relatively prepared. I wrote the script, I came up with the storyline, and my crew was like, yeah, sure, we like it. So now it's just the minute details, getting props, sorting out location, getting the actors and stuff like that.
How far in the process are you since you're shooting next week?
As far as I possibly can be.
No, I absolutely 100% believe you're going to make it happen.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me.
I mean, you said you show up. I know, I can attest to that for sure. You do show up. Yeah.
But to be honest, there's been moments where I've overworked myself and I have to tell myself, well, calm down, to be honest with you. Especially as I age. In my early 20s, I could 5 days straight, no sleep, work. Sure. But now it catches up with you.
What's the story? What inspired you to create this play? What is it about?
It's actually based on, substance abuse.
Is it a theater play or you will be...
It's a short film.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. We're trying to create awareness on substance abuse. Yes, yeah. Because I'm like, if we can save one person, that would go a long way.
Yeah, cool. Okay, sweet. So when are you expecting it to come out?
I'll let you know as soon as we're done shooting.
Cool. So you had it first. Yeah. Script writing, it's pretty much different for different users. In advertising, there's a specific way that they would write for their TVCs, and then in film and theater. So I wanted us to focus specifically on script writing for theater plays, right? So technically, what are the things or tips that you would give to somebody who's looking to jump into that space?
Deal with a clean paper.
A clean paper.
People are scared of a blank paper. The whole thing of not knowing where to start? Yes. Deal with that. Write a few things. They might not end up going, being part of the actual script, but deal with a blank paper first. So I would write the title, and then I still struggle with the synopsis, to be honest. But then I would write like a bunch of things I want my characters to say, right? And then the blank paper is filled, and then I structure it.
Okay.
That's what I do. Yeah. And then I give it to people to critique. They break my heart. But we move. No hard feelings. Oh my God. It's like, what were you trying to articulate here? We don't understand. Like, what do you mean you don't understand? The actor goes to the bathroom. Like, yeah, it's that. If there's anybody that has ever broken my heart, it was somebody who was critiquing either one of my books or a script that I wrote. That hurts, bro.
It happens all the time. But I think being in the space long enough, I have learned to, rather gravitate more towards the criticism than everybody saying, nah, it's cool. I'd rather have someone criticize because, because there's always something that can be improved with every creative piece, and that's why I keep my creative friends around. They are very, very critical, and they would crush you if you don't have the heart. And for the most part of it, I've been very defensive, and this is something that I had to learn over time to divorce, that sometimes people are going to criticize, they're not going to like your ideas or understand them, and you need to be willing to listen to them and hear their
Don't completely divorce your defense mechanism. Don't. Because sometimes you know what you're doing. The next person is interpreting it in the way that they understand it. And don't completely divorce your... Sometimes I would say it's fine the way that it is. Yeah. And you need that in the creative space.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because
but it's good that...
Now you dilute your ideas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's good that you're open to criticism.
Man, I had to be in the advertising space especially. Man, I had to go through a lot of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the qualities that if you're going to get into the space, you need to be strong at. Yeah. If you can't take criticism, you won't make it in the creative space.
But I think it also depends on the way that somebody articulates their criticism.
That's why you need to have the right people that I can always go to this person and their feedback. It has nothing to do with how they feel. So that is actually that about taking criticism.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Why did you start the podcast?
Man. So why we started the podcast, actually we came together as a team to like, guys, you know what's happening? We just got into the advertising and technology creative space. We are learning quite a lot of things, about the space. And what's the best place to get this information? The internet. We'd go onto the internet, and at that time, the most content that we would find was from people either in USA and UK, so it was kind of like very hard to relate to that kind of information. So we kind of like wanted to create what I would call a library for people who would want to learn about creativity and technology from people who've actually, walked the path.
Right.
Yeah, so that's basically that. We want to have people who are in the digital space come to us and teach us about how they do it. And that is the whole point of this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how creative you guys are with the podcast.
We try.
It's very attractive. Very, very attractive.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that, man. But Palesa, you actually published 3 books in a year. Is that true?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Actually, that's not even the highlight. I did 30 podcasts in less than 6 months.
Wow.
That was shocking for me.
Man, so how many do you do a week?
Well, I haven't done any, but there was a time when, and some of them I didn't even publish. So I'm sorry to the...
So you do the editing?
I did everything myself.
Man.
Yeah, I know.
Must have been really hard. So how many books do you have?
I have 4 books out. I have one that I probably need to publish soon, and I have another one that I'm still writing. Yeah.
How do we get them?
Okay, so I'm self-publishing, so you can actually hit me up to get the books. Actually, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. So I was just also reading your bio, and you said you have a publishing company.
Yes, I had to start my own publishing company because I wanted creative freedom. I knew that if I went through another person's publishing company, they would limit my creativity and how not really limit, but they would try to box it in a certain way. And I didn't really want that, not at this point in my life. And also because I'm not really trying to make money off my books. I just want to have the books, put them out there. So that's why I decided to start Cloud Sing Publishing Company, where I have creative freedom to do what I want.
So do you also publish for other authors?
Not yet. There was a kid that hit me up, but I was like, I don't know if I'm committed to other people's books right now. So I said to her, listen, I will help you edit, I will guide you and everything, but I'm not really that invested yet. So see how you can go about it. Because if I had to publish other people's books, I would have to find ways to make sure that they make profit from it, they have the right market. I don't have...
You don't want to deal with that?
I don't want to deal with that right now. I just want to do my own thing. Because with my books too, because I do have a job, luckily for me, so I'm not relying on the income. Sometimes I would just give them away. So what I did was I gave some books away to my former students to sell and keep the money. So I would do that. Yeah. Whereas if I'd gone through a publishing company, I couldn't do that.
Sure. So out of your 4 books, there must be a personal favorite.
The Big Fat Man is my personal favorite. That's my first book. Yes.
Do you look at it? Okay, so go ahead. I wanted to ask if you look at it and then think, maybe there's things that I could have improved, or maybe there's like...
Of course, but I don't care. At this point, because it was our first book and I thought it was incredible and it was easy to read. The reason why I don't care so much is because my nieces and nephews are reading it now. And I think my kids that's gonna be the first book that they read.
Okay, cool.
Yes, and for some of my Asian friends and white friends, and that's the first Black book that their kids have ever read.
Cool. Are they liking it though?
They love it. It's a little funny. And you know, a fantastic thing happened. I worked with Ndebele Book, who's a sign language translator.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So we translated the book into sign language. And I think that has to be one of the first books in South Africa, children's books that were translated into sign language.
I like one of the first.
Yes. and I had a kid hit me up on IG who was obviously deaf, and they had watched The Big Fat Man, and they were just, I almost cried. We narrated it and put it up on YouTube, so you have to search The Big Fat Man, South African Sign Language.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's pretty interesting, because I wanted to ask about the language, since you are that side, and the official language is Mandarin, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was wondering if, would you have it translated in Mandarin?
Yeah.
Or,
We're working on it, yeah.
do you have someone helping you, or are you fluent in Mandarin and confident that you can?
I wish. You know what's interesting? I have a friend of mine, Alu, who is very fluent in Chinese, and they do, he's African. He's African, they're very fluent, he's very fluent in Mandarin. So I'm gonna get another Black person to translate the book into Chinese.
Okay, cool.
That's fascinating.
I like to hear that. Would you use AI?
I would read it. No, he's gonna do it. He knows Mandarin.
Oh,
Yeah, I can read it,
sure.
but he has to translate it.
Sure. Sisi tells me that we have 2 minutes.
You guys are so strict with time.
Okay, cool.
We have 1 minute, Palesa, please wrap it up for us. It was really amazing having you on the show. So what's next? What can we expect?
The film, obviously. The film's coming out. I'll probably be doing more musical performances. Yeah, and then I'll go back into the podcast, and I have to go back into that. Yeah. And probably more collaborations, and
This is the first of many.
this is the first of many. Yeah, I'm honestly following your stuff, and I love what you guys are doing, to be honest. Yeah, that's that. I think for now, yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Well, we didn't talk about you being in 9 countries. I wanted to touch on that. We can have it offline.
It's a conversation for
but
another
you've been
day.
around and about, and yeah, guys, that is how.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I've been around and about. There's no place like home.
Nah. Yeah.
Miss P,
Otherwise, the whole night.
Please
Just
close it for
okay.
us. Please close it for us.
did.
Nah, please do the outro for us.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the TMC podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and comment below. And stay tuned for more podcasts. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Boo, 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 boo.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yo, you guys are...